My name is Sofia Navarro. I'm 32 years old. Until 4 weeks ago, I believed I was building something real, not just a relationship, but an empire. I had left my VP position at a tech firm in Barcelona to move to Amsterdam with my boyfriend of 3 years, a man who convinced me we could revolutionize the fitness tech industry together. His name is Marcus Aldridge. We met at a startup conference in Berlin, the kind of event where everyone drinks overpriced espresso and pretends their app will change humanity. Marcus was presenting on gamification in wellness platforms, confident, articulate, with the kind of sharp British accent that made even mundane statistics sound visionary. He asked for my number during the networking session. 3 months later, I was flying to London every other weekend. 6 months after that, I'd relocated my entire life. For 2 years, things felt unstoppable. We built FitSync from the ground up, a platform connecting personal trainers with clients through AI-driven workout customization. I handled operations and UX. Marcus ran product development and investor relations. We worked 16-hour days, lived on takeaway Thai food and ambition, and believed we were partners in every sense of the word. Then we got our Series A funding, $2.3 million, and Marcus proposed. Not at a restaurant or on a beach. In our office at 2 a.m., champagne from the corner shop, ring from a vintage store in Jordan. It was perfect because it was ours. But something shifted after the funding closed. Marcus became obsessed with scaling fast, hiring strategically, building the dream team. And that's when her name started appearing in conversations. Vanessa, his ex-wife. They'd been married for 4 years, divorced 3 years ago after she took a job in New York. Amicable split, he'd always said. No drama, just distance. I'd never worried about her before. She was a ghost from a previous chapter, until she stopped being a ghost and became a consultant. At first, it was casual. I grabbed coffee with Vanessa. She's back in Europe. Then it was strategic. Vanessa has experience scaling SaaS platforms. She could be helpful. Then it was inevitable. I'm thinking of bringing her on as head of growth. She's exactly what we need. And that's when I realized I wasn't being consulted. I was being informed. 3 weeks ago, Marcus came home late from a dinner meeting. He poured himself a whiskey, leaned against the kitchen counter, and said it. I've offered Vanessa a position. She starts Monday. I need you to be professional about this. I smiled. Actually smiled. Of course, I said. That makes sense for the company. Relief flooded his face. He kissed my forehead, thanked me for understanding, and disappeared into his laptop like the conversation had never required my consent in the first place. What Marcus didn't know was that I'd already spent 2 weeks investigating. Not out of jealousy, out of diligence. Because when your business partner and fiancé wants to hire his ex-wife and frames your discomfort as unprofessionalism, you don't argue, you gather data. I started with LinkedIn. Vanessa Chen, Stanford MBA, former head of growth at 2 failed startups and 1 moderately successful marketplace platform that had been acquired and gutted. Impressive resume, but not extraordinary. Certainly not irreplaceable. Then I found her Instagram. Private, but I requested access through a burner account posing as a fitness influencer. She accepted within an hour. What I found wasn't scandalous. It was revealing. Photos of her and Marcus from 2 months ago. A weekend trip to the Cotswolds. Dinner in Shoreditch. A blurry shot captioned, "Old friends, new memories," with his hand barely visible on her shoulder. Marcus had told me he was at a product sprint in Manchester that weekend. He'd sent me photos of his hotel room, of his team working late. I cross-referenced the metadata. They'd been taken weeks earlier. I didn't confront him. Confrontation would make me the problem. Instead, I did what I do best. I followed the trail. Vanessa wasn't just coming back for the job. She'd been laying groundwork for months. And Marcus wasn't just hiring an ex-wife. He was rewriting history while asking me to fund the sequel. So I made a decision. If Marcus wanted Vanessa in our company, she'd get the full transparency treatment. Starting with her current boyfriend, who had no idea she was moving to Amsterdam or why. His name was David Huang. He lived in Singapore, worked in private equity, and, according to his very public Instagram, had been dating Vanessa for 11 months. They'd spent Christmas together in Bali, New Year's in Tokyo, Valentine's Day in Paris. He posted like a man in love. She commented like a woman keeping options open. I sent him a message. Friendly, professional, perfectly poisoned. Hi David, we haven't met, but I'm Sophia, Marcus Aldridge's fiancée and co-founder of FitSync. We're so excited to have Vanessa joining our team in Amsterdam as head of growth. I wanted to reach out since I know long distance can be challenging. If you're ever in town, we'd love to host you both for dinner. David responded within 2 hours. Wait, Vanessa's moving to Amsterdam? She didn't mention that. When does she start? I told him Monday. He didn't reply after that. The weekend before Vanessa's first day, Marcus was unusually tense. He kept checking his phone, pacing through our apartment, rearranging furniture like he was preparing for an inspection. Are you nervous about Monday? I asked, casually. He glanced up, startled. No, just want everything to go smoothly. I nodded. It will. He looked at me like he wanted to say something else. Then, he didn't. Monday morning arrived with the kind of crisp Dutch sunlight that makes everything look deceptively optimistic. Our office was a converted warehouse in East Amsterdam, all exposed beams, glass partitions, and Scandinavian furniture that cost more than it should. We had 12 employees now, a mix of developers, designers, and customer success specialists. Everyone knew Vanessa was starting today. What they didn't know was that her arrival had been orchestrated by someone whose feelings had never been part of the calculation. Vanessa walked in at 9:30, exactly on time. Tall, polished, with the kind of effortless elegance that comes from expensive simplicity. Tailored black trousers, silk blouse, leather bag that whispered luxury without logos. Her hair fell in perfect waves. Her smile was warm but controlled, like she'd practiced it in a mirror. Marcus stood immediately, crossing the room before she'd even set her bag down. Vanessa, he said, and his voice changed. Softer, lighter, stripped of the professional veneer he used with everyone else. Welcome back. She hugged him. Not a handshake, not a polite embrace. A real hug, her hand resting on his back just long enough that I saw 2 developers exchange glances. I stood from my desk and approached. Vanessa, I said, extending my hand. Sophia, we've heard so much about you. Her handshake was firm, confident. All good things, I hope, she said with a practiced laugh. Marcus has been raving about FitSync. I'm excited to contribute. I smiled. We're lucky to have you. She looked at Marcus. He looked at her. And in that half-second, I saw what I'd suspected for weeks. This wasn't nostalgia. This was a reunion. The morning was consumed by onboarding. Marcus walked Vanessa through product roadmaps, user analytics, growth projections. He laughed at her jokes, leaned in when she spoke, touched her arm twice to emphasize points he could have made with words. I watched from across the room, laptop open, pretending to work while cataloging every gesture, every glance, every moment that confirmed what I already knew. At 11:00, the front door opened. David walked in. He wore a navy suit, carried a leather briefcase, and had the posture of someone who'd flown halfway around the world without sleeping. His eyes scanned the room, landing on Vanessa, who was mid-sentence with Marcus, her face drained of color. Marcus looked confused. David walked straight to them, slow, deliberate, controlled. Vanessa, he said quietly. Vanessa spun around. David? Her voice cracked. What are you doing here? David's expression didn't change. I flew in this morning. You didn't answer my calls. He turned to Marcus. You must be Marcus. Marcus extended his hand cautiously. I am. And you are? David didn't take the handshake. I'm Vanessa's boyfriend. Or I was until I found out she was moving to another country without telling me. The office went silent. Keyboards stopped clicking. Conversations paused mid-sentence. Vanessa's mouth opened, closed, opened again. David, this isn't... Isn't what? David interrupted. His voice stayed calm, but his eyes were hard. Isn't the time? Isn't the place? Or isn't what you told me when you said you were just consulting remotely? Marcus finally found his voice. I think there's been a misunderstanding. David turned to him. Has there? Because according to Sophia's message, Vanessa accepted a full-time position here, in Amsterdam, starting today. Marcus's head snapped toward me. Our eyes met across the room, and I watched the realization land. This wasn't an accident. Vanessa stepped between them. David, please, let's talk outside. No, David said firmly. I flew 11 hours because you've been lying to me for weeks. If you have something to say it here. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Not grief, humiliation. She looked at Marcus like he was supposed to rescue her. But Marcus was staring at me, face pale, jaw tight, like he was watching his carefully constructed narrative collapse in real time. How long have you been planning this? David asked Vanessa. She didn't answer. How long? He repeated. 2 months, she whispered. David nodded slowly. 2 months, while we were planning to move in together in Singapore, while I was looking at rings. He turned to Marcus. Did you know she had a boyfriend? Marcus swallowed hard. We didn't discuss personal details. David's laugh was bitter. Right, just business. He looked at me then. Thank you, he said quietly. For the message, I needed to know. I nodded. I didn't apologize. Vanessa's gaze found mine, sharp, venomous. You did this on purpose, she hissed. You wanted to humiliate me. I met her eyes. I invited your boyfriend because he deserved to know the truth. That's not humiliation. That's transparency. You're vindictive. She spat. I'm thorough, I replied. There's a difference. Marcus finally moved. Vanessa, maybe we should... Should what? She snapped. Pretend this didn't happen? Pretend Sophia didn't sabotage my first day? I stepped closer. I didn't sabotage anything. You did that yourself when you moved here without telling the man you've been dating for almost a year. Vanessa's hands trembled. You don't know what you're talking about. I know you and Marcus have been seeing each other for 2 months, I said evenly. I know he lied about being in Manchester. I know this job was never just about business. Marcus's face went white. The office was frozen. 12 employees watching their founders unravel in real time. David looked at Vanessa. Is that true? Vanessa closed her eyes. David, is it true? She nodded. Once. Barely perceptible. David set his briefcase down, straightened his tie, and walked out without another word. The silence that followed was suffocating. Vanessa turned to Marcus, mascara smudged, voice breaking. You said this would work. Marcus didn't respond. He was still looking at me, like he was seeing me for the first time in months. Sophia. I held up my hand. Don't. I walked to my desk, packed my laptop, my notebook, my coffee mug with the company logo we'd designed together. Then I turned to the team. I'm taking the rest of the day. Marcus will update you on the transition plan. I didn't wait for questions. I walked out, and I didn't look back. Marcus came home that night, around 10 p.m. I was sitting on the couch, glass of wine untouched, staring at the city lights through our floor-to-ceiling windows. We need to talk, he said. I didn't turn around. Do we? He sat down heavily. You had no right to do that. I finally looked at him. I had every right. I'm your business partner, your fiancé. Or I was. He ran his hands through his hair. I didn't cheat on you. You were going to, I said. And you lied. About Manchester, about coffee, about why you really wanted to hire her. Marcus leaned back, exhausted. I got confused. Confused, I repeated. We've been together 3 years, engaged, building a company, and Vanessa shows up and suddenly you're confused? It wasn't like that, he said weakly. Then what was it like? I demanded. Because from where I'm standing, you brought your ex-wife into our company, lied to me about your relationship with her, and expected me to smile and act professional while you figured out if you still had feelings. Marcus closed his eyes. I didn't mean for it to happen. But it did, I said. And the only reason it didn't go further is because I stopped it. He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw guilt. Real guilt. I'm sorry. I stood up. I know. I walked to the bedroom, pulled out a suitcase, and started packing. Marcus and I didn't speak again for 2 weeks. Our lawyers did. Splitting a company you built with someone you loved is surgically precise cruelty. Every asset, every decision, every late night suddenly becomes a line item in a contract. I sold my shares back to Marcus at a fair valuation. He kept FitSync. I kept my dignity. Vanessa quit after 3 days. Apparently, working with the man whose relationship you helped destroy while your own imploded in public isn't conducive to growth strategy. She moved back to New York. David never forgave her. I know because he sent me a message 6 weeks later. Thank you for the truth. It hurt, but I needed it. Marcus and I finalized everything last week. I moved to Berlin, took a consulting role with a health tech accelerator, and started rebuilding. Someone asked me recently if I regretted inviting David to the office. If it was cruel. I thought about that morning. The sunlight, the lies, the moment everything stopped pretending. And I answered honestly, no, because Marcus made his choices long before David walked through that door. He chose to reconnect with Vanessa. He chose to lie. He chose to prioritize his past over our future. All I did was refuse to be complicit in my own erasure. You can survive betrayal. You can survive heartbreak. But you cannot survive being slowly replaced while being asked to stay silent. The hardest lesson I learned wasn't about trust or love. It was this. When someone asks you to be mature about something that disrespects you, they're really asking you to disappear quietly. And I refused.